we're going to talk about our individual relationships with our intentions. With what we are emanating out into the world. And we are going to attempt to get a lot more clear on them, to understand where they're coming from, and perhaps more importantly, what space am I in when those rise up? And then we're going to have a process where we're going to open our mind and our heart wide open to the divine. And then we're going to physically plant our intentions. And then we're going to really look at the very important next step, which is taking inspired action. So that is where we're heading today. Are you going to come with me? 5 people are going to come with me. Are you going to come with me?
Yeah!
Yes. Because truth be told, I need all of your energy. I need your presence here. Because these allergy pills are really doing a number on me right now. All right. And I know that together we can do this. So first off, where do these intentions come from? Well, they come from our consciousness, the part that we are aware of, and from our subconsciousness. And there, in our subconsciousness, are all of those unhealed wounds and maybe hidden beliefs that we haven't quite brought into the light to let them go. We haven't quite walked through them to let them go. Reverend Karen Russo did such a powerful job last week. Remember when she was talking about, she was saying, I got it, right? Those moments when we know that we are one in the one, that there is a divine presence that is infinite possibility and it is pouring itself through me out into the world and life is good, right? And then she talked about I lost it. When we know that that is how life works, but for some reason we can't connect with it. And we feel lost. And we experience fear and anxiety. And so what I've been working on this whole week is, where do these intentions arrive and how important it is for us to be aware, where do I find myself? Because what we know that the creative force, the creative process always takes place. The creative process doesn't ask, Karen, are you in a really good space? Good. I'm going to work for you today. It doesn't happen. And why is that important? Because sometimes when we are in these places where we have lost it, at least this has been my experience, I am just as creative, and I can see what happens. There's disharmony. There's struggle. I am hustling so hard. All of those emotions tell me, oh, I am intending from a place where those emotions are present. And so it is so important for us to understand that, and I so appreciated that powerful talk, because it helps me to say, oh, when something is happening out there that feels like disharmony to me, or conflict, or challenge, or unreasonable effort, I can catch myself and step back and ask myself, oh, where am I vibrating from? Where am I meeting the divine from? And the moment I have that clarity, it helps me to shift it, right? It helps me to say, oh, I get it. It is really not that person's fault. Although I was convinced this time it was them. Yeah. And it really helps to reevaluate our relationship with intentions. Now, intentions, if you have ever taken a class here at the New Vision Center, you know it's something we talk very often about, and at the very beginning, before we enter into spiritual mind treatment, learning about how our form of affirmative prayer is structured, we talk about intentions, because we help everybody understand that what I put out there comes back to me. In Germany, we say, wie du in den Wald hinausrufst, so kommt es auch zurück. As you call it out into the woods, it will return. It echoes back. Yeah. And so then the question, of course, is how can I meet myself with compassion and grace when I recognize, oh, I'm in this place. So, what is important to understand that all of us at all times are on a continuous journey. We are upward spiraling. That is the very center, that's in our very DNA, right? Our very DNA looks like it, and that is how we are wired. And depending on if I like to think about it this way. See if this works for you. For me, it works this way. There's source, and then as I upward spiral, sometimes I'm really close, and then sometimes I am further away. But overall, I'm just becoming more and more the being I was meant to be. And that deserves my grace, even when I'm far away from that source. And so, wherever we are on the journey, the infinite of the universe meets us with all its infinite possibilities. And intentions are right there at that point where the infinite and our consciousness come together. And so the work that we do in this center and in centers like this is to clear out our consciousness of any obstacles, of any beliefs that don't serve us anymore, so that we may be available to the good that is for us. The good that can be a loving relationship, a new job, writing the book, singing the song, painting the painting, living a day full out in joy, whatever your intention might be. It is springtime here at the Northern Hemisphere, and there's this quote that I often think about, and it's by Pablo Neruda. And it says, I want to do with you what spring does to the cherry trees. I hear Spirit say that to each one of us. Spirit, I feel so profoundly, is leaning into us and says exactly that. I want you to blossom in whatever way that means for you, whatever that is. And so we're going to have a little experiment, a little process. I invite you, if you're one of the 90 people who received those sticks, and if you didn't, please use your sheet of paper at home. Hopefully you had a chance to find something. There are pens around. I see pens being shared. Okay. And I invite you to close your eyes. The soft breath, perhaps echoing back to the beautiful pre-service meditation that we had, just allowing your breath to come in. And then ask yourself, what is my intention? Perhaps an area of your life rises up where you want to have a different experience. Perhaps you're curious about what is your next thing to do. Perhaps there's something that is so big in your face that you definitely want to have a different experience around. If we give ourselves a moment in silence to connect with that. And then you can write it on that piece of wood or on the paper. And either you can plant it in our new planter up here, or you can hold on to it, take it home, put it in a place where you see it. Let it serve as a touchstone as we engage with the world. We always say that, and I like to bring awareness to it. In our lives, there's so much going on. And that is true if you have chosen a spiritual path or not. Life continues to bring forth challenges. You know, if I take a moment and just think what I'm aware of in my own life, I have a grandson who's dealing with learning how to be with big emotions. Doesn't seem like a big thing to most of us, perhaps, but if you're 4 years old, that is a big, big challenge. If I widen the circle, family, there's some health challenges going on. And as I widen the circle, this community, several beloveds facing challenges. And even further, our country, our world. And here's what I often think about. Yes, there's challenge and there is fear in the world, but it doesn't have to be in our hearts. Yes, there's anxiety and worry in the world, but it doesn't have to be in our hearts. And yes, there's anger and frustration in the world, but it doesn't have to be in my heart. Make it personal. We are the ones, we are the keepers of our own hearts. Yes? We are responsible for what enters. I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says, the Vietnamese monk. He says, what is most important is not to allow your anxiety about what happens in the world fill your heart. For if your heart is filled with anxiety, you will get sick. You will get sick, and that sick can mean you will also be not helpful in the solution of things. I don't know if you know about Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk who recently passed away. He lived in Plum Village in France. And there, they have a bell. And numerous times throughout the day, at random times, somebody rings the bell. And that is for everybody the moment to stop whatever they're doing and reflect, what am I intending right now? To bring forth a moment of mindfulness. Now, if I had this planned better, somebody would be ringing the gong right about now. But I ask myself, how can we build into our lives those reminders? Something that, when it happens, we say, what am I intending right now? Is that in alignment with what I wrote down on that stick at Sunday service? Because that, beloveds, is how we really truly live this teaching of taking it out into the world with us. So there's the becoming aware from what part of the continuum I am stepping into the manifestation process and speak or vibrate my intentions. There's the getting clear on it, getting really clear, what is it that I want to bring forth, and then calling ourselves out when we are not in alignment with that. And then comes the next step, and that is obeying the divine voice, obeying the intention, not the intention, obeying those allergy pills are doing a number on me. Let me say it another way. There's a moment where intuition happens, right? Where we get this moment and we are like, okay, this is what I'm called to do. And sometimes it doesn't make sense on the surface. But that is the moment that we need to obey, when that inspiration comes. And I want to do a little show and tell. A couple of months ago, one of our congregants, one of our community members, came to me and said, I really would love to have a representation of the other faith traditions in our sanctuary. And this beloved community member connected with that wall over there. I think we have a picture, so you don't have to turn your head, but it's the wall on the south side. And many of you know that behind those plastic slacks is actually a huge cross that is built into the wall. That is why we put those slacks in front of it 16 years ago when we moved into this building. It's crazy. And I loved the idea. And then I was reminded, and I remembered that over at Creative Living Fellowship, those of you who have been in that beautiful, in our sister community, they had it on the platform. Many, 12 other faith traditions, in addition to Science of Mind, were represented on the platform there. And so I had conversations with this beloved who had an idea, and I'm like, I'm gonna find out where that came from. That might be something we can model it after. Well, things got busy. A couple weeks later, I was sitting down, and all of a sudden, I thought, I'm going to call Reverend Michelle Whittington, who used to be the senior minister at Creative Fellowship, Living Fellowship, and she might know who the person was who created these beautiful plaques. And I did. I called her, and we had a wonderful conversation. And during that conversation, Reverend Michelle said, Karen, you're not going to believe this. Just yesterday, I looked at them. And I was wondering, where they're going to go, where they're going to be. And so after feeling into it, Reverend Michelle felt that it would honor Reverend Lonnie, who created these, that they would live there on our wall. And so that is an example of just how beautiful life can work when we allow ourselves to listen. I can't look over there because Reverend Michelle is. That is how good it can be. Ooh. I think we have another slide. Ernest Holmes, this is what Ernest Holmes says about all of this. Within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experiences. Do you feel that? Do you know that? Yes, within us is the possibility of the limitless experiences. Ours is the privilege to give birth to it. That, beloveds, is the work that we are called to do. To find out what is it that we want to bring forth, and then overcome whatever needs to be overcome, and do it. Invite it in. You know, it is not easy to be so shook up as I am today and to be here. But it is possible because of the love that is present in this community. And that is not just for me, that is for everyone. And my deepest wish is that each one of you here in the sanctuary, online, can make yourself available to feel that love that makes everything possible. That is why we come together. And our intentions can help us on that journey. And I am so grateful we are all together on that journey. Let us anchor it in prayer. And so please join me as we take a moment. Allow your eyes to close, your gaze to soften. Take whatever is present for you now and recognize that it is part of the allness of life. As we recognize that deep within us is the place of love, of peace, of harmony, of joy, of possibility. And as we take a moment and recognize that all of this is within us, allowing it to bubble up. And so it is from this place that I speak a word for all beloveds who are going through whatever part of the journey they find themselves on. If they know without a shadow of a doubt that they are one in the one, or they're feeling separate or filled with fear or anxiety. I speak a special word for all beloveds who have placed a prayer request into our ministry of service, knowing that the work of the practitioners and ministers to hold those prayers in the highest is allowing peace, resolution, and joy to make itself known. How grateful I am to know that all these intentions that we have connected with propel us forward on our individual path. Allow us to feel the divine within us, connect to Source even deeper, be one in the one. And so it is with a grateful heart that I simply place this word into universal law. I simply let it be. And together we anchor this truth as we say, and so it is.